No, we are not going to get freaking politics on the show.
No. Welcome, folks.
Sick of this horse crap.
Welcome, folks, to the After Hours edition of the Grand Iron Power Hour. Well, today we're going to be talking about consequences and repercussions of people's actions on and off the field in the sport or their profession. Now, continuing from my podcast from last week, I was talking about the young man in South Texas who decided to pull a bullheaded stunt and physically attack the referee. What brought about
an official verdict on that yet?
And what brought that about will be two penalties on him. They were both unsportsmanlike conduct that got him tossed out the game. He didn't like the call, and he made the referee know about it by knocking him down. The ref wound up on concussion protocol.
Off the field.
Yes. The police escorted him off the field into a police car in handcuffs. He was bailed out hours after he was booked in jail on a $10,000 bail. And the consequences is his actions had played on his entire team, as because of his actions, his team had got yanked out the playoffs, and the team that they beat are going in their place.
Yep. So basically it was counted as a forfeit, even though they were winning the game. Because of one player, everybody suffers.
Yeah. And it goes to show you consequences and repercussions, folks. It's not just about you anymore. If you're playing a team sport, it's not just about you. Your actions will also have an impact on your team as well as your school and your community.
And for those seniors that were wanting to play and have a chance to go after a state championship, they won't have that opportunity because of one knucklehead player on their squad. And now they'll never get the opportunity to experience of making a run towards a state title in their state.
No. Because a student has said 4 years of work, and that's where it ends.
Even the juniors that were looking to try to make a run to be senior leaders next year.
Yeah.
We're not going to get a chance to have a playoff run. So now those players that are juniors are going to have to think about what could have been. Luckily, they get a season next year, but will they be as good next year? We don't know. Because guess what? 2021 hasn't started yet.
And also in Kitty Pop Warner football, this video has just surfaced recently. If most of you folks haven't looked at it, maybe you should, and then you come up with your opinion. A Pop Warner.
The video came out on Wednesday.
Yes, a Pop Warner football coach. A football coach, yo, was videotaped taking his belt off and hitting one of his players with it. A 9-year-old boy.
He had punched the kid in the face.
Yeah, and when his mother saw that bruise, she was not a happy camper.
And the only thing the coach apologized for was basically doing what he did in public, in view of a video camera on somebody's phone.
And was also the repercussion is it also cost him his job as a youth counselor at the Cheatham County, Georgia Sheriff's Department.
Well, I hate to be the bearer of bad news. Well, he kind of deserved that one. He kind of earned that one.
Like I said, folks, consequences and repercussions. It goes to a Bible quote: "You reap what you sow." Mm-hmm. You want to pay if you want to do something this stupid. It's going to make a negative impact not only on you but everybody else involved. If you don't want that action, don't fucking do it. It's that simple. I've seen people do bullheaded stunts and try to get away with it. Which
there are those that are still idiots.
Yes, which also leads me to the professional level. Tennessee Titans defensive back Taylor Tart has been banned for one game on what happened from this past Sunday's contest against the Cleveland Browns when he stepped on the hamstring on a Browns offensive lineman while he was on the ground. That, folks, was known to the Titans as the Albert Hainsworth rule. If you step it on an opposing player, you're going to get in trouble.
Yeah, and let's back up a little bit. How did the Albert Haynesworth rule come about, you ask? Well, we'll be more than happy to tell you. Albert Haynesworth, when they were playing the Dallas Cowboys, what was it, circa 2003?
Yes. And while Andre Garrard was on the ground, his helmet was off. In full field of camera, Albert Haynesworth had came back, lifted up his right foot, and stepped on Andre Garrard's left temple, his head, folks, with the spike of his cleat, leaving him a gash on his forehead and made it bleed.
The official that day, if my memory serves me correctly, was Jerome Boger.
Yeah.
I believe if my math is right.
Mm-hmm. And one of the other judges was Jeff Triplett, one of the most hard-nosed referees.
Battery on somebody's head. The Albert Haynesworth rule was born.
Yes. Which also leads to the Myles Garrett rule of last year. And what's that rule, you might ask? That means taking the helmet of the player and using it as a weapon.
And I have forgotten how it started because I think Rudolph said that Myles Garrett called him something, or maybe it was the other way around.
It was the other way around. Myles Garrett said that Mason Rudolph called him a nigga. So Myles Garrett took offense at that, took Mason Rudolph's helmet off his head, and then used it as a weapon. Now, that would cause him to be suspended for the remainder of last season. And Myles Garrett was lucky with that, because it could have been a hell of a lot worse if Mason Rudolph got hurt even more worse than he almost did.
I'll put it this way. Both are at fault because it shouldn't have come to that.
Yeah. If Mason Rudolph had just...
The officials were not... And the officiating crew that night, I will say this, and I've said this a million times, and I'll say it again until I'm blue in the face. Most of the officials in football have been flat out steaming pile of horse dung.
Yeah.
Trash.
Yeah.
It's like they forgot the rule book. There should have been offsetting penalties. Myles Garrett and Mason Rudolph both ejected.
I believe.
No bench is cleared.
Yeah, I believe that is exactly what happened. Both Garrett and Rudolph got ejected out of the game, even though the Steelers.
But it was after. But it was after the fact when both benches cleared.
Mm-hmm.
It should have happened long before that.
Yes.
So the officiating crew literally had no control of the game.
Basically.
And they had let most of that play go all night long.
Mm-hmm.
So if the officials would have handled it a lot quicker than they did, you wouldn't have had the melee or the brouhaha or the out-and-out warfare that ended up happening.
Yep. And then I'm going to run further back to the years where rules like that would cost you your career. You don't believe me? Ask Rodney Harrison. He probably had not been a stickler for the rules. That every time there's a reason why there's a horse collar penalty in the first place.
Well, keep in mind, back then when Rodney Harrison was playing, before 1998,
yep, there
was no horse collar rule.
And it was in 1999 when he did that, because the last three people that he yanked on the shoulder pads, on the necks of their shoulder pads, they wound up with broken legs and their season was done. He cost 3 players from 3 different teams their seasons by pulling on their shoulder pads, on the collar of their shoulder pads. Hence the horse collar ruling. You can't do that, folks.
Basically, the neckline, right at the neck and the head.
By pulling on that, Rodney Harrison has single-handedly cost 3 players from 3 opposing teams their season and their career. Not to mention his own. Not to mention his own.
Well, keep in mind, see, all these rules weren't in play at that time. The rules we're discussing here.
Yeah.
The Albert Haynesworth rule.
Yes.
The horse collar rule. The
Myles Garrett rule.
And what was it? Who was the other one that had another rule named after him? Who's that other one? who was that other one?
Ndamukong Suh.
Yes.
That clown.
I knew there was one I was missing.
That jackass had broken more rules.
That dude is
being shifted from team to team.
Envelopes than the UPS store or the UPS or FedEx combined.
Yeah.
He could buy both companies and still have money left over.
Yeah. The stupid things he does. The stupid things that Ndamukong Suh does has caused him to be bounced from team to team. Anything and everything, not just for horse collar penalties and stepping on the player's head, he also took it one step further and stepped on the crotch of a Green Bay Packers offensive lineman while he was on the ground. Stepped on right between the balls.
I don't remember which one it was, but I think he got penalized for it and ejected from the game.
Yeah, he did. As a Detroit Lion. Now he's playing with Tom Brady as a Tampa Bay Buccaneer.
And have you noticed? You haven't even heard a single peep about Ndamukong Suh getting sacks, tackles, or nothing.
Because pretty much these days, Ndamukong Suh is watching what he's doing. Because this man has been fought more times than James Harrison, Larry Foote, Terrell Suggs, Ray Lewis, and Greg Hardy put together. He's been fought more times than these guys. And these guys are veterans for being playing dirty.
And you're probably asking the question, why are we bringing all these people up? If you watch the YouTube video from, Inside Sports?
Yeah.
I remember seeing it about 3 weeks ago. About the top 10 dirtiest players in all the games.
It was that.
In football.
It was those.
Yeah. And also they had same thing on Inside Sports.
Mm-hmm.
The top 10 most gruesome injuries
in
NFL history.
Yeah.
I saw those back to back and I'm like, oh my God.
Mm-hmm.
This sport is a very dangerous sport. It can be very lucrative, but it can also be life threatening.
Mm-hmm. And dangerous.
As Darryl Stingley found out later.
Yeah.
In his career.
Mm-hmm. As did Orlando Brown found out in his career when he was playing with the Browns, that a ref accidentally took his own flag and it broke.
Right in the eye hole.
Yes, it broke the orbital socket in that man's right eye.
I'm trying to think. Was that recently retired official Walt Anderson or Walt Colvin, one of the two?
It was Walt Anderson.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, he did. But Anderson said
Anderson got some serious heat.
Yes, but Anderson said it was never intentional. It was just an accident, and he didn't mean to. But Orlando Brown wouldn't hear of it. He couldn't see. Not only did it broke his orbital socket in his right eye, he went blind in that right eye permanently, as he couldn't see out of it at all.
So technically, he is officially legally blind in one eye.
Yes, and had to force to retire in 2003.
There was another couple of guys that was forced to retire because of some severe injuries as well.
Mm-hmm.
If you watch the video of that.
Yeah. But only one of them is still playing to this day, and that would be Jason Pierre-Paul. That man is only playing with a couple of nubs on his hand after a freakish accident on the 4th of July.
And that was what, 2 years ago?
More than that. It was like 4 or 5 years ago. And because it was a faulty firework that he decided to pick up, and it went off in his hand. Don't took out part of his ring finger, most of his index finger, and a part of his thumb.
Like,
dang. That's the reason why you don't hold fireworks in your hands, folks. Consequences and repercussions. But this is not a consequence or a repercussion. This was a freak accident that should never happen to a great guy.
And keep in mind, it could have cost him his whole career. But thank God it didn't.
Yeah. But unlike JPP, Michael Vick and Plaxico Burress cost their own careers due to all fault on their own stupidity.
Well, let's do the Cliff Notes version because I don't think a lot of people are going to be sitting here for that.
All right, Cliff Notes version of this. Yep, Michael Vick got in trouble for dogfighting. His career has gone down the crapper ever since, and nobody had heard of him anymore.
And Plexico Burris, he shot himself with his own gun in his pocket while in a nightclub.
And it was with the danger of slipping it down out of his pant leg. He grabbed it and accidentally pulled the trigger.
Like an idiot.
And many people did a touchdown dance because of that, holding their leg.
Speaking of best touchdown dances, remember when Joe Horn caught the touchdown pass?
Oh, yeah.
And then he went underneath the goalpost.
And got a cell phone.
Getting a cell phone in the official flag.
Yes. But then there's one by Antonio Brown that's still today the most funniest and definitely the most creative way to almost obliterate your manhood. Whatever you do, folks, if you catch a football, please don't try to straddle the goalpost with junk. That hurts.
You think?
He got hit in the baby maker, and he kicked the female security guard that was behind that goalpost in the process. And that was 3 years ago. Yeah.
Oh no, he didn't. Dear Jesus God, no.
Yeah, he did. He could. Why are you strapping the goal?
I hope that lady wasn't thinking about pressing no charges. Because speaking of charges,
no, because her back was turned and didn't realize. She didn't even realize he kicked her until she felt his foot hit her in the butt. And that was on primetime TV, folks.
That lady's family was watching on national TV. Was like, what?
I know. I bet her family was like, "Girl, you just got kicked in your ass by Antonio Brown right after he almost split his own nuts."
Yeah, really. He's nut sack.
Folks.
Yes, kids.
If he had not been wearing a cup that game, he would have been singing soprano all the way to the emergency room while the doctor's trying to find his left testicle and his right testicle, and they went on the inside.
Like the old song with Hitler. He has one breastbone. Dang. Holy cow.
Mm-mm.
Wow.
Yep.
That's pain and anguish if I ever heard it.
Yep. And many people, if you believe it, that like I said, many people have consequences and repercussions that were negatively on a team. But because, like I said,
to the gonad and the nutsack, that's a you problem.
Not a team problem.
That's a you problem.
Yep. Not to mention, like I said before, the stupid things that you do can cause your own career if you do the stupid things the stupid way. But not something necessary that would get you carted off the field in a pair of handcuffs and get thrown in jail for. Well, the case in point, Matt Gramatica cost his own career after he kicked the field goal. After he kicked the field goal, he broke his leg after he did that.
Oh, you're talking about Martin Gramatica's brother Bill Gramatica for Tampa Bay, who celebrated like
that would be Matt Gramatica himself.
That's a you problem, dude.
Yeah, that's Matt Gramatica. That was himself.
That was not a snap spot kick problem.
That was coming down so hard that you don't shatter your dang leg in 5 places, you problem. That is shattering your leg and costing your own career. But like I said before, consequences or repercussions can have 1 or 2 different effects. On one side, if you only did it to yourself, then you only have yourself to blame, funny or otherwise. But if you do something that's detrimental on the team, not only will you suffer, your team will suffer too.
That is a one player costing everybody problem.
And that is going to take him a while to get back to it, problem. Because as of right now, the referee that this young man hit is under concussion protocol. They don't know if he's going to be able to referee next year. And he was only 58 years old.
Holy crap.
And the kid is 18, 40 years younger.
Yeah, that's definitely.
Yeah, we know we're supposed to respect our elders. We're supposed to respect our elders as a generation, because some of us are parents ourselves. But whoever this kid's parents are, they need to go back to the drawing board and get an apology letter from the fucking condom factory. Yeah. You there? I hate when I get interrupted.
Now, what was the news that you told me we had to discuss here on the pod about the owners meeting, which is supposed to be next Sunday?
It'll be on the 19th. It'll be next Saturday.
But the big question is the kahuna of the league got to the hospital yet?
Well, I'll have to ask him. I'll have to ask him tomorrow morning before I even. I'll ask him tomorrow morning if he's out of the hospital, because that man don't need to be in a hospital. Because if he stays in the hospital anymore, it'll be like a Hotel Hilton.
Have they figured out a backup plan?
I don't even know yet how far this thing will go. But the only thing is that most of the owners, and myself included, if we actually all can come to a consensus during next week, it should be fun. It should be a fun thing to watch.
Options are right now that you know of that the owners, that you and the owners have actually decided on if the meeting doesn't happen next week. What are you left with?
What are we left with? We're probably going to be left with our own devices. But if that comes to that, we're going to look like running around like chickens with our heads cut off. That's something that we don't want to do. Because we need to get together as a whole cohesive unit and come up with a solution about this. We have to come up and see if everybody agrees with the scheduling, agrees with what finds a sponsor for the league. Because as of right now, two sponsors will come into mind. One of them will be Rydell, the other one will be Schultz.
So how many are they looking to get?
They're trying to see if they get either one or the other, or maybe both, to sponsor our league. Because as of right now, Zenith is sponsoring the Misfits. And speaking of women's football, there's another football player related death that.
Oh boy.
Yeah, it came from the New Orleans Hurricanes football team of the WFA. Apparently, she came down and died from COVID somehow. Not sure, but she died this afternoon. I happen to be Facebook friends with the head of the WFA, and that's how I found out about it.
As we close this pod out, it's going to be a little shorter than normal. But we'll try to get back to our hour as we move ahead. But this one was a continuation of a pod we started 5 days ago, and we needed to close it out.
Yeah.
And that's what we're doing this week.
Yes, because like I said, folks, consequences and repercussions. You might think it's a little bit of a problem, but it can snowball out of control real quick. On one hand, you got to be responsible for your actions, because if you don't, your actions is going to reflect poorly on everybody else, and everybody else is going to suffer because of your mistakes, of the things that you caused. So, Emmanuel Duran, if you are ever listening, and I hope to God that you are, you little punk, you got to be man enough to own up to your own responsibility, because your actions cost your team a chance at the playoffs, cost your team their season.
And for some folks, their careers,
yeah,
and their livelihood. But folks, as we close this out seriously, rest in peace to the women's football player who passed away this afternoon, to her family, and to all of her friends that knew her, the WFA as a whole, as they deal with it during this trying time, which it only has 20 days left in this year, under 3 weeks, with Christmas in 2 weeks. It sucks, especially when it's right around Christmas and New Year's. You have that nice little block between Christmas and New Year's.
It really sucks.
It's worse during holidays, especially when you get to November and December.
It really, really sucks. Nobody has to lose things. No, let me tell you, this is something that my mother tells me all the time. Things happen for a reason. But there are some things that we can't even control.
Some things that shouldn't happen that we have control over.
And some things that have happened that we have no control over. Well, but folks, the only way you can actually change that is if you change. Be the change you want to be. Be the change you need to be. Be the change you have to be. And everything will fall into place. If not, it's going to be like a pile of dominoes with nowhere to go.
It's basically the same concept of probably I don't know how many parents have taught their kids this. But it all starts and ends with you.
Because you got to
close this thing as we close this thing out this week on time.
Yep.
Okay, about a good half hour. Well,
yeah, close to a half hour. Because we've been live for 27 minutes.
Well, close to a half hour.
Yeah.
Which is about a pretty good stopping point.
Because like I said, this is just consequences and repercussions, folks.
This is the conclusion of this one. So, do we have any idea what next week's agenda is, or are we just going to do another one off the seat of our pants, or are we just going to figure it out? Oh, yeah, one more thing. I said I was going to wrap it up, but I've got to talk about this, which literally drove me up the wall last night.
Okay. Go ahead.
How many times have I said this? Many, and I'm going to say it again. Cam Newton is quarterback in this National Football League. Stop it. It's time to just face fact. Cam Newton is not a quarterback in this league. Back up, maybe.
Yep. Yeah. Mainly, and I know he's want to say this for quite some time, but Cam Newton, no. John, sorry about that, folks.
You can't see. I can. Do I need to count the ways on?
Count the ways. But maybe we can all count the ways of why Cam Newton should not be the quarterback of the Patriots or in the NFL in general. One, he's not as young as he used to be.
I could count.
He's not as young as he used to be.
Whoever was teaching him as a quarterback in college, my God. That whatever you were teaching him in college
should not have been taught. Yeah.
That quarterbacking style should not even be allowed.
Yeah. And
he tries to scramble too much. He is still not learned how to play quarterback from the pocket.
No, folks.
And he's almost 35.
Yes, folks. There are several types of quarterbacks. There's your running quarterback, your pocket pass quarterback, and your versatile quarterback. And Cam Newton doesn't fall into neither one of those categories.
He looks to scramble first before throwing.
Yeah.
And as you get older, you start losing your ability to get out of the pocket. Because in the league, people are getting faster, younger, stronger, quicker. You're not going to be able to find those holes that you once did.
But not
5, 6, 7, 8 yards every time with your feet.
But not to necessarily toot his own horn out here. But for the 31-year-old quarterback for the Titans, Ryan Tannehill can show that even guys in his early 30s can do something guys in their late 30s to early 40s cannot do.
The thing I like about Tannehill, though, is at least Tannehill looks through his options before he decides to run. Or if everything's covered, he'll take what the defense gives him.
Mm-hmm.
He's not one of those that's not just going to... He's like, okay, my first option's not open, so I'm just going to take off and run.
Yep.
You have to read your options.
Yes.
He doesn't even know how to read what's open.
And for those quarterbacks who've been in that league for as long as they can remember, Tom Brady and Ben Roethlisberger, please look at the playbooks. Look at the playbooks. Look at the options it's going to give you. Think before you do anything, because if you don't, you can wind up like Dak Prescott out for the year.
It was 2nd and 9 after Damian Harris picked up a yard at the 19-yard line. After Damian Harris just got about an 11-yard run from the 31 down to the 20 on a 3rd and 10. So he gave...
Don't bring a Monday night's game, because that game was a shit show turn on its fucking ear.
I'll put it this way. The Patriots defense, I can give them a pass. But what I cannot give a pass to, is the garbage at the quarterback position for the New England Patriots. On a 2nd down and 9 from the Rams 19, he throws a low pass. His throws have never been high. His throws have never been the best throws in the world. But my Lord, his throws are so low, he could get his receiver absolutely killed.
Yep.
Every throw that he makes, his receivers have to go down and lunge for the ball.
Yep, which is kind of why Denver is the only team that doesn't have a quarterback at all right now. All 4 of their quarterbacks are hurt.
Drew Lock did come back this week. Drew Lock was in there last week. We're still talking about 2 weeks ago when they had to pull a wide receiver to play quarterback.
Yeah. Let's
revisit what you and I discussed about that.
Oh, Lordy. Let's
not talk about how bad the game was, but let's talk about
bad coaching calls.
Let's just talk about at the pro level why it is impossible
to put a wide out
on your practice squad that has not played quarterback since college, basically a 24 to 48 hours notice without changing the game plan, simplifying the game plan for him to basically execute it.
And let him watch the game tapes before game day.
They did not give Hillman anything to go on, and they gave him no help at all.
Lord have mercy. That was a massacre of the ages. That should have never happened.
Well, for one, if I'll say it again, if they would have at least had a decent quarterback,
yeah.
I'm not talking about like Kaepernick. I'm just talking about any quarterback that's still on the street that still wants to play.
Yeah.
They should have at least had him sign for 2 weeks or just in case of a situation like this.
Yeah.
They could have at least had a quarterback that already knew the game plan and could work the system. But did they do that? No. They put a freaking wide receiver that didn't even play quarterback since he was in freaking college at Wake Forest. That poor kid on national TV probably looked about as embarrassed as a kid that just got punked on the playground.
Yeah.
With getting his lunch money taken and having a black eye and a busted lip.
Yeah.
And a busted schnoz.
We can name several positions that never should be quarterbacks besides the wideout position.
Okay.
Wideouts. Now, running backs.
Let's back up a little bit.
Punters.
High school level, I have seen it at the high school level. Or a wide receiver can play quarterback if the regular quarterback, couldn't play. They'd have enough time because they're already on the field and they can actually throw it.
Yeah. But like I said, there's only one quarterback.
There's a possibility you can do that.
Yeah.
But at the pro level, you're not going to have the time.
You got to be like Ryan Tannehill good. And folks, Ryan Tannehill was a wideout back in high school and the first couple of years of college before he went to the QB position.
And I believe, if my math is correct, him to quarterback out of necessity.
Yeah.
Because his other quarterback got hurt.
Yep.
So basically, they were down like the fourth-string quarterback that wasn't even going to get a snap. So what did they do? They moved Ryan Tannehill to play quarterback, and he did pretty well for himself. And it's parlayed into a pretty nice doggone career at the quarterback spot, except for his first years at the Miami Dolphins when his knee blew up on him.
Yeah. And he finally left the city, who was not giving him the recognition that he deserved, to come to a city to revitalize a team
that was flat bad.
Who hadn't played this well since 2008 during the Mike Mularkey era.
Malarkey, a bunch of malarkey.
And nowhere close to Jeff Fisher era.
Oh, don't get me started on the Jeff Fisher era. After they did the 13-3, 14-2 Steeler towel stoppage.
Yeah.
They got knocked out of the playoffs. I said Steelers.
Yeah. We can talk about the 2019 Titans, who surprised everyone by making it that far to the playoffs to make it that far to the AFC Championships.
That is until the end of the first half when there was no running game and we had to throw it 50 times.
Yeah.
We
can actually let's talk how the Titans managed to outfox Bill Belichick. You forgot Mike Vrabel was a Bill Belichick guy.
Oh no, I hadn't forgotten. Matter of fact,
he took plays out of Belichick's playbook,
and it was brilliant.
Absolutely freaking brilliant. How to beat the Patriots at their own game. If your head coach happens to be a former Bill Belichick guy,
former linebacker, by the way,
who knows just how he does it.
I think he's the only coach besides, who was the other one?
Bill O'Brien.
He got fired most recently.
Bill O'Brien and Matt Patricia.
Matt Patricia before he got fired with Bob Quinn. And there was one other. Yes.
Bill O'Brien.
Patriots offensive coordinator for the second time. Former Notre Dame Fighting Irish head coach. Well, no, Denver Broncos head coach, Josh McDaniels.
Mm-hmm.
Because remember, Josh McDaniels beat him too.
Mm-hmm.
When he was the head coach of Denver.
Yeah.
He had a guy by the name of Tim Tebow at quarterback.
Oh, Lordy. Which led to DeAndre Poe to do the bloated Tebow. And by I mean bloated, he's the big heavyset version, the black version of Tim Tebow. Except that guy can throw. Tim Tebow, ain't nobody had heard of him since he decided to pick up a baseball bat.
Nope.
And tried out for the Mets.
It seems like now Tim Tebow is being used as a figurehead or a stunt double in baseball. Because I ain't heard a peep from him since.
Ain't nobody even heard of a peep out of Mark Sanchez. The Jets debacle.
Oh, you mean butt fumble guy?
Yes. And now there's a new butt fumble guy. His name is Sam Darnold. The Red Ginger Ronald McDonald.
Somebody say McDonald's.
Ba-da-ba-ba-ba. He's not loving it.
Nope, he's not.
He's hating it.
And maybe the good thing for Sam Darnold, maybe it changes him. We're doing something good.
Well, the only good thing he had going for himself was dyeing his hair.
And the only other thing he might have actually good for him is he might get a whole new coaching staff because already Greg Williams got fired earlier this week. And I have a suspicious feeling that once the season is over, if the Johnsons do what they need to do, they will clean house.
Yeah, and I also got a sneaky feeling.
Football coach.
I'm gonna have a sinking feeling. I'm gonna have a sinking feeling about this. If one team fired Greg Williams, guess which he's probably gonna go back to? The Cowgirls, probably.
Cincinnati? There's no way.
No, he was the coordinator for the Cowboys.
Oh God!
And he was the reason that Bounty Gate came to be.
Let me see. I think that little problem happened actually in New Orleans.
Yep.
When Greg Williams when he had a psychotic break with reality, and I think his son basically said he had forgotten to take his medicine, and they caught that fool on tape talking about body bags and stuff like that with the Saints defense and Brett Favre.
Yeah. God, and it caused good people like Jonathan Vilma his career.
And Sean Payton to be suspended for the whole year.
Yeah. It actually caused it cost 11 players on the Saints team, including Jonathan Vilma, his whole entire career because of that stupid mistake that he did. You listen to Greg Williams, you're going to lose your career. Don't do it.
The mistake was Greg Williams because, they caught that thing on tape.
Yep.
And I think that was in 2009.
Yeah, it was.
Brett Favre was on the Vikings. When they're playing them in the NFC Championship game, they went smoke job on him all night long. At one point, I think he was out. He was writhing in pain because of his elbow, but he came back. He kept on playing, though.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh my goodness.
Yeah.
And I was a little stunned and appalled when I heard that stuff when it came out. I'm like,
stunned and appalled is not how I would feel at this moment. As a football fan, I'm pissed. As an owner, I'm outraged, and as a player, I am disgusted. Because,
and here's the thing: when he was the Titans DC, he didn't do all that.
Oh,
I didn't know when that came out the way it did. I'm like, excuse me. Greg Williams is a psychotic self-centered maniac?
Yeah.
Wow. I'm like, this dude is on a rant from...
But I tell you one thing, if the Titans don't get a defensive coordinator, their playing walls is going to continue, and their season could be in major jeopardy.
They need to get Dean Pease out of retirement.
Yeah. Man, and the Titans, the only thing about this is the Titans had never had a better... The only other DC that have helped make the Titans who they are besides Dean Pease will be Mike Heimerdinger. God rest his soul. Heimerdinger's rolling in his grave right now.
Well, the offense is okay. It's not the offense.
Mike Heimerdinger is a defensive coordinator.
The offense side of the ball.
Yeah. Mike Heimerdinger was
doing a fine job.
Yeah. Mike Vrabel's trying to do two things at once.
And you know what? At this point, if I'm Vanderbilt, I'm looking at that guy.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of the Vanderbilt football coaching search, if Candace Story-Lee wants to go make a splash at an offensive hire, yeah, I know he may not do a job at recruiting, but if you want to get some excitement and get some offense actually going, Todd Fitch ain't your guy.
No.
Get Arthur Smith. Let him take a shot at it.
Yeah.
Because right now, what he's doing as a coordinator is pretty good.
Yep.
And I think that offense could work in the SEC because it's a balanced offense. And that's if you really want to think about it, that's what Vanderbilt kind of needs.
Yeah.
A balanced offense.
Mm-hmm.
They've got a nice good 2 or 3 backs in the backfield. They just need to find balance on offense.
Yeah.
If they can get that, because they're not going to be the elite of the elite. Let's just go ahead and say that now. But if they can get a balanced offense, because that's what Vanderbilt is.
Mm-hmm.
They are a ball control, balanced football team offensively.
And as you well know, folks,
enough pass game. See, it ain't that hard to figure out how to fix a team. It ain't that hard.
Yes. And as you well know, folks, that tomorrow will be another tradition in college football, which is the Army-Navy game.
Yes. There is a lot of rivalry games. Vandy, Tennessee at 3 o'clock. Army-Navy, 2:30 on CBS.
Which is the America's game. The Army-Navy game. The Army-Navy game. And you forget
a regular pod on Saturday.
Yeah.
After the Army-Navy game.
Yes.
Or should we just go ahead and let this one be the regular pod for the weekend?
We're gonna do. We actually do something because basically right now, what people need is bad news. They probably might need something to make them feel good right about now, with the crazy way that things are happening right now.
Ain't that the truth?
And the last thing we need is more crazy things going on. And we're not going to discuss politics on this podcast, folks. We are not. Because if I hear about politics again, then you're going to see.
I heard all week enough politics to last me a freaking lifetime.
I heard enough politics that made me want 3 root canals. 3 root canals and a breast reduction, for crying out loud.
I'll put it this way. I don't want to talk about this, and I'm just going to say this. This guy is so bleeping desperate to keep the presidency, so bleeping bad. He is going hook or by crook, any means necessary, just to keep his presidency intact. Now, this is one thing I can say about the president-elect. He's not waiting around until next month. He's already putting his team together now.
Yeah. Meanwhile, this asshat, who shall remain nameless on this podcast, have lost 55 lawsuits and counting.
Well, he's trying to get like one, where he's joined on with Texas and a few other states to try to.
They actually rejected that yesterday afternoon. And the 126 GOPs that back this clown up will not have a say so, because they're implementing Article 3 of the 14th Amendment.
And Monday, I've heard the Electoral College
is going to...
We'll go ahead and give 46...
And the first female VP, their props.
There will be no sneak attacks. There will be no back doors, because whatever the Electoral College says is final.
Yeah.
Even though a lot of wahoos won't believe it.
Yeah, because the 126 people who decided to side with this asshat, they ain't going to have no say-so. They will have no authority of what's going to happen in the Electoral College whatsoever.
Because the Electoral College will have the final say-so.
Yeah.
And the Electoral College basically says, and I quote, President 46 won by over 7 million votes, you idiots. And that's final.
And every recount has said that he won otherwise. There has been no election fraud. Because even the asshat's own former lawyer said there was no evidence of fraud. Those were William Barr's words. Those were his words.
I heard his words 2 weeks ago.
Yeah. We don't need to hear words from Uzi Giuliani. We don't need to hear words from Crack and Powell. Those two
we don't need to hear words from Crack Pipe and Hair Dye Electronic.
We don't need to hear from a guy who will wipe his face with the handkerchief he wiped the hair gel and his nose with. We don't need to hear a woman whose lawsuits had so many typos that she needs to go back to kindergarten and do it all over again.
Like, dude, here's a suggestion for you. If you can't write, leave it to the professionals.
No, it's because every last one of her lawsuits has so many misspellings that every one of them had laughed it out of court.
The Supreme Court said they were dismissing. Look, the Supreme Court said they were dismissing it. They weren't dismissing it because it was stupid. Well, that's one part. But the typos were so obvious. I mean, they were literally sticking out like a bunch of sore thumbs. I'm like, jeez. This twit needs to go back to high school.
She needs to go back to elementary school and learn how to write correctly again.
Like, go retake your writing exam.
Learn how to spell first.
Apparently, whoever gave you the idea to actually give you a passing grade should have put a big fat F for failure.
In the words of former Smart star Joshua Ovenshire, he said this: when are you gonna fucking learn? Look at the things you write before you present it. It's common sense, folks. If you look at what you write and you see so many grammatical errors, correct the fucking shit!
Do they have a writing editor? I believe that person does have a writing editor.
But she chose not to use it.
That person and let them fix it.
She chose not to use that writing editor. She chose not to use it.
The way you present it is so god-awful. Johnny Carson from his grave would be laughing out loud on how pathetic your writing is.
Yeah.
Even the Sklar brothers who duel Johnny Carson's would be laughing so hard. If you watch any episodes of Cheap Seats with the double Johnny Carson, how funny was it? It was so funny that it was sticking out like a sore thumb.
It was so bad. This one would make a part of the Dirty Justice episode of In Living Color. This bitch, your handwriting is so that blasted awful that my 5-year-old can spell better than you and still get straight A's. Meanwhile, you're a grown fucking woman. You can't write worth of motherfucking shit and you still suck. You suck so much balls, it ain't funny. You got got me, my bitch.
Her writing was so bad. How bad was it? Even Shanae from Martin thought it was funny.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, how bad was this bitch's handwriting? How bad was it? Her handwriting was so bad that it make radio look smart. And he was mentally retarded. That dude was mentally retarded. She makes him look smart. And he don't have to write a fucking thing.
Wednesday?
Radio.
No, I'm talking about what did the Steelers not wake up from the Ravens game on Wednesday and they just sleptwalked up?
No, the Steelers and the Ravens played Tuesday.
Yeah, was it Tuesday?
Yeah, they played Tuesday.
Oh yeah, it was Tuesday.
They played Tuesday right after the damn Cowboys game.
On
Monday.
The Ravens played Tuesday night, and that was another crap fuss.
Jesus Christ.
Can we just go ahead and say Andy Dalton needs to retire now, please?
Yes, let's say it. Go home, retire.
The Red Rifle has fired so many blanks. How many blanks are there?
It's too many blanks. It comes to a point. It's gonna come to a point that it's gonna be shooting off like a BB gun, and I'm gonna have to take the quote out of the Christmas Story. You shoot your own eye out.
Yeah, hey Ralphie, you're gonna shoot your eye out, kid. Pop.
You shot your eye out. You shot your eye. You shot yourself in the mouth too.
Even though actually he broke his own glasses.
Ay, ay, ay.
Oh God, what is it? 13 days from today, 14. It's going to be an all-day marathon of Christmas Story on TBS.
Oh God.
And every year,
I can watch. I can name a lot of things I would rather watch other than A Christmas Story. I can watch ridiculousness. If it comes to that, I will watch.
I would rather see Donald Trump's spokesperson, Kayleigh McEnany, or whatever her name is, try to write something at least halfway decent.
Nah, she's got spelling errors as well.
Oh.
And she's been debunked as a fucking liar on national television.
Oh, she comes off as a total flaming blowhard.
She's been sucking so many balls. It's no wonder why she got that job.
Like, no wonder. I mean, my God. So she had some serious butt kissing for that one, didn't you? Lord.
Yeah, we already know whose ass she kissed. The question is, how long did she have to kiss it to get that damn job?
It was so god awful. She needed a hazmat suit.
Yeah.
And not even the hazmat suit can cover that blemish of a stupidity.
Nope.
Sheesh.
And it wouldn't even protect her from COVID, as Uzi Giuliani had caught it twice.
Electric Barbaruti after Rudy Giuliani after he had his brain molecules fried and short-circuited into the next county.
Yep.
Like a twig.
Yep.
Electrified brain scrambler Rudy Giuliani nerd.
Yep.
A guy with a middle name of a girl. Mm-hmm. Hey.
As was Texas Attorney General.
Like when Terry Bradshaw was on the episode of The Simpsons, where it's like Terry Bradshaw winning 4 Super Bowls with the first name, and he has the first name for the only quarterback that won 4 Super Bowls that had the first name of a girl. Hey.
And let's see, and his former son-in-law happens to be the late Tennessee Titans kicker Rob Barones. Italian dude,
as I refer to him. His name sounded Italian, even though I know it wasn't. I just called him the Italian dude because his last name just sounded Italian.
Yeah, but that little Italian dude married his youngest daughter.
Word.
And she became a widow after they got married in 3 years. Well, they got married. They were married they got married 7 months after they met.
That's a quick romantic hot dive, sort of.
Yeah, because according to police reports, he came around the curve right on a back road, which is kind of notorious for sideswiping cars off the road intentionally. That Robert Martin's overshot. His car went over the guardrail, and with him in it hugged the tree, killing him instantly. And he was 35.
Sad too. Andy was a part-time golf instructor.
But he was the only kicker who could kick a field goal 61 yards out.
Yeah, just put the ball at midfield and just let him kick it from there. He was the Titans version of Jason Elam and Matt Prater.
Yeah. He was the Titans version of Adam Vinatieri.
And Vinatieri could kick a 69-yarder. I think Vinatieri's longest was like 50, 53, 54.
56, I think.
Maybe that in the snow.
Yeah, and which is why he's sitting, and that's why he's sitting doing broadcasting college football games now.
Who's he broadcasting with?
ESPN Game Day, College Game Day. He's working with Herb Herbstreit. He's working with Brentwood, Tennessee native Kirk Herbstreit. On ESPN College Game Day. You there? Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah. We might as well have to wrap this up because we're going to keep getting interruptible calls. And let's face it, we just eclipsed near an hour. I'm coming, Mama. Oh my Lord.
Huh? What?
That was my mother.
Oh boy.
But let's face it, folks. I'm coming, Ma. Tomorrow will be some good college bowl games to watch, especially the Army Navy game. We see number 46 doing the coin toss.
Probably another Alabama tip.
I'm coming, Mama.
Another dud.
Yeah.
As we move ahead.
Yeah.
For tomorrow.
Mm-hmm. And then until then.
So.
Until then, take this in mind, folks. We gotta set a good example for the younger generation. Let's teach them, because it starts and ends with us, and it's up to them what to do with it. So until next time, this has been the Great Iron Power Hour After Hours. We're signing off. I'm coming. I'm coming, Mama. All right. You still there, Luther? Well, he hung up. Goodbye.